What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the CIMB Classic. So we head to Malaysia for this PGA Tour stop with a slightly better field than we had last week, which isn't necessarily difficult to do. But a couple of unique things about this event. 78 players, I believe, currently in the field, so it's not a full field event. And there's no cut. So keep that in mind as we roll through this week's preview. If you are new to these previews, just going to run through a couple of tools that I use, a couple of players that I think are most interesting. I'll show you some spreadsheets and things that I'm looking at, and then I'd love to chat about who you guys are playing. So, real quick, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this course. I cannot do it. Here are the key stats that I'm rolling out for this week. So, pretty similar to what you might have seen in the past for a par 72. We've got par 5 scoring in here, but there are a few stats that correlate well to finishing position, particularly strokes gained off the tee, and then greens in regulation between 100 and 125 yards. We're going to see a significant portion of shots come from that range, so I want to put a little bit of emphasis on that. And then birdie or better, probably more than most weeks. It might be 25 under par that wins this thing. You cannot shoot 4 under every day and be in contention. You're going to need some really low scores, which is what we saw Justin Thomas do 2 years in a row. And he is your back-to-back defending champion. So let's hop right into this. Here's Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas has won this event 2 years in a row. He is coming off a first and a second in 2 of the last 3 events that he played at the end of last year. He's your reigning PGA Player of the Year. I cannot make a case for not playing Justin Thomas other than the fact that he's going to be the chalk and he's going to be highly owned. But have you ever seen, and I'm not sure I have you ever seen a guy who's 4-1 to win a golf tournament? And I know that it's a small field. He's the odds-on favorite. Everything's going right for him right now. But 4-1. 4-1. It's wild. So Justin Thomas, according to bookmakers in Vegas, is going to win this 20% of the time. Pretty impressive stuff. I'm going to have my fair share of him. If you really want, if you really think you can fade him, that is a game theory choice that you're going to have to make. But let me just show you real quick some of these tools here. And by the way, I'm loving these new tools I put together. These are on dfsondemand.com, or at least will be soon. This is a new one for this year. So this is course history. We're just going to do CIMB Classic. Here's Justin Thomas. He's only played it twice, but you can see back-to-back finishes, 133, 148 DraftKings points. That's big time. That's good. Okay, moving right along. If we don't want to play JT, where do we go? Not thrilled to play Hideki with what he did at the President's Cup. Form has not been there over the last 6 or 8 weeks. Hideki's going to be a tough pick for me. I do like Paul Casey, and I like Xander Schauffele. So here's the guy who, here's your Rookie of the Year. Unbelievable season last year, 15 of 22 cuts made. Goes out and wins at the Tour Championship, now gets a couple weeks off and gets to start his new season. I think he's one of the best players in the field. And I'm not sure, let's see, he's priced at the 5th highest. That's probably fair. He might be the 4th best player in this field. He might be a little better than Schwartzel coming in here. But I think this is a pretty fair price at only $9,700. The way that DraftKings has priced this, JT is so high that they only have 3 guys over 10,000 here. Getting Schauffele at 9,700, I think, is a pretty fair price. Going down, we're gonna get a lot of Euro guys this week, which is great. I think you're gonna love this. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Okay, I love this new tool so much. So check this out. So this course, Koopa Lumar, or however you pronounce it, has been the host of the CIMB Classic from 2014 to now. So I can do this. I can come in here and I can look up course history for the CIMB Classic for 2014 to now, basically all 4 years, right? And I've got them. Kuala Lumpur. Maybe that's how you say it. And I've got my players listed here based on, based on finishing position. This is actually DraftKings points, and I have all the game logs on the left. Here's what's also awesome. The same course was the host to the Maybank Malaysian Classic, which is on the Euro Tour from 2010 to 2015. So we can do this. So we can go Euro Tour, both of these, Maybank, and let's just narrow down the years. All right, so now we've got more course history. Now we have, I love this so much. We've got the Euro course history. Okay, here's a name that stands out. Thomas Pieters, Charles Schwartzel. But here's Pieters. Let's talk about Pieters real quick. Averaging 87 DraftKings points. So he has not played, let me confirm this before I tell you that. He's not played the CIMB Classic. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, okay, he's not. But he has played this course twice in competitive competition in 2015 and 2014, had a 16th and an 8th place. Thomas Pieters is a guy that we've talked about somewhat regularly in majors, in WGC events. He can hold his own, okay? He hasn't played great recently. A couple cuts, a couple finishes, but just back in August, a 4th place at the WGC. Awesome field. The Open Championship, a 44th. You can see does well on the Euro Tour, the French Open, the BMW PGA Championship. Those are good fields. Thomas Pieters is a really nice play in this weak PGA field on a course that he's had success on. So I like that a lot. Kevin Na. Let's look at Kevin Na here. So Kevin Na was pretty chalky last week. Was actually in contention for a long time here. Then he shoots a 77 on Sunday, which is pretty disappointing. Falls out of it. Finishes in a tie for 37th. He also has had good history here, and I can't remember if it's Euro history or if it's PGA history. I think it's got to be PGA history. So we're just gonna flip back to. Bear with me here. You can see how quickly I can do this. We're just gonna flip back to the PGA Tour. We're gonna go CIMB, and we're gonna go Kevin Na. All right, here he is. He's played it 3 times. Averaging 99 DraftKings points in the process, has a 2nd place in 2014, a 3rd in 2015, and a 29th in 2016. So 3 really good, or 2 really good finishes, a 3rd decent finish for a guy who played well 3 out of 4 rounds last week, found himself in contention for the most part, but kind of fell out of there. Yeah, sure, I guess I am concerned about the trip to Malaysia in between. He's not having a week off, but you know what? Take what you can get at this point. Okay, here's another guy, Anirban Lahiri, coming off a T9 at the BMW Championship, which is the last playoff event that he played last year. I was pretty impressed with him at the President's Cup. Obviously, the international team got their butts kicked, but it was nice to see him roll some putts in. I was actually pretty impressed with his play. He has some good CIMB history. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Here we go. Has played it the last 4 years, never missed a cut. That's a joke. It's a no-cut event. Don't tweet me. Including a 3rd place last year. Okay, 2 top 25s in his last 2 years. A 3rd place last year, averaging 86 DraftKings points in the process. I like that play for only $8,200 in this price range. The 7,000 to 8,000 range is pretty good. You can see a lot of guys in my key stats pop up. Here we go. Basically, 5 of the top 6 golfers are in that price range. Duffner, Stanley, Dillette are probably my most interesting. Dillette played well last week for a while. Duffner, I think, is a guy who could potentially top 5 this, maybe top 3, and I think is his upside. So pretty interesting to see those guys fall where they do in my ranks. Ches Reavie is a guy that we've talked about where, again, he was in contention for a while again last week. Reavie continues to knock on the door, continues to play well. these are the types of fields you want to get him in, you know, before the full season starts, and then we'll have to handpick what tournaments we play him in. But he's been so good, it's really hard to not play him at this point. Let's keep going here. All right, when we get down here, I think the price on Howard Varner is pretty good, but there's a couple other guys I thought. Oh, Kevin Tway. I haven't talked about him in quite some time. Another guy who fades on Sunday at the Safeway, but you know, he was in the top 10 or top 15 for a while. Hits the ball so long. I mean, he's another candidate for a breakout star. I mean, 4 months ago we were saying, okay, it's Kevin Tway, it's Xander Schauffele. We were on this video series playing a lot of those guys. Schauffele ends up breaking out and going to win the Tour Championship. Kevin Tway didn't have the same level of success, but that doesn't mean that the scores aren't there. You can see how low he can go. 66, 66. He can go really low, and in a no-cut event, you know, we don't have to worry too much about like that 77 blow-up. Obviously, we hope that he doesn't do it, but you can still score plenty of DraftKings points with how many birdies he can make. He can make multiple eagles in a round. I mean, he's just a pretty good scorer for DraftKings purposes. Here's a pretty interesting one. I don't know if you noticed this earlier. This would be a pretty deep flyer, but I think there's at least something to look at here. Let's make sure I have the right guy. Richard T. Lee. I think it was a Euro Tour. Yeah, there he is. Okay, so the last time the Maybank was played at this course, Richard Lee finishes in 5th place. The year before that, he had an 18th. So, no, I don't particularly think Richard Lee is a great golfer. However, the last 2 times he's played this course in competition, he's had a top 20. And it's the Euro Tour. It's not like it's a, you know, some trash web, I don't even want to say web.com, you know, some mini tour out there. So Richard Lee, shout out. I will have some level of exposure to you as one of my deep flyers just because you've had good success here. And then you'll notice this bottoms out at $6,800, which is pretty interesting. Wes Pryan down here at 68. Actually, hold on. Let me check something real quick. Thought a name popped up here. Here was one. Chad Campbell. I mentioned how important this 100 to 125 yard range is, and there's nobody better at hitting greens from that range than Chad Campbell. So he comes in at my 24th ranked golfer, but he's literally the min price. So again, if you are looking for a flyer, he at least has a skill set of one of the categories that I think is going to be the most important this week. That doesn't necessarily mean he can go low a lot of other ways, and he probably doesn't make enough birdies to win this thing. But I do think he's interesting if you're looking for a min-priced golfer to match with maybe some of those more expensive guys at the top of the list. So there you go. I mean, it's actually, hold on. Before we do that, let's do the odds again. Justin Thomas 20-1 is insane. It's I can't remember the last time I saw a guy 4-1 to win a golf tournament. Here's Lahiri. So same odds to win as Schwartzel, Poulter, and Brendan Steele. Cheaper than those guys. He's basically the same odds to win as Xander Schauffele. He's $1,500 cheaper than him. Lahiri, by the end of the week, I'm sure is going to get a pretty significant portion of my ownership just because of the way this matches up. I think it's a fairly good investment here. Kevin Na, another guy we talked about, pretty good price. Let's see, anybody else jump out here? I guess not. There's always a couple of values down here at the bottom of the range, but nothing too compelling. So there you go. This week with no cut, I do just love the guys who make birdies, just because they're going to get so many cracks at it, and even if they shoot 2 over, maybe they can make a bunch of birdies in the process. So keep that in mind when you're choosing rosters. I'd love to hear who you're playing, so tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. Talk to you guys soon. See ya.